Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update tonight. We have a heap of information to get through, so let's just get straight into it. Now, we've always known that the Labor government is completely out of control, but this week in particular has shone a really bright light on exactly what they're doing, especially here in Victoria. Now, I spoke on last week's update about the insane amount that the Victorian Parliament has recently spent on these completely pointless machete bins, which of course are all completely empty. Now, if you did miss that story, here's a very quick overview. You can see how much they've spent just there. Machete amnesty bins recently installed cost Victorians $13 million. Machete amnesty will run from 1st of September to 30th of November 2025 to support the safe disposal of machetes. Safe disposal bins will be installed at select police stations across the metropolitan and regional Victoria. You can hand in a machete without penalty during this time. However, how in the hell could a 1 metre high steel metal bin to receive the knives cost $325,000? That equates to $325,000 for each machete amnesty bin, or $13 million for all 40 bins. And they're only going to use them for 3 months, as that is how long the amnesty is planned to run. And you wonder why Victoria is broken and hopelessly in debt. It is inconceivable this amount could ever be charged for such a poorly constructed bin. In Victoria, they don't have a government, they have a criminal money laundering syndicate running the state, said Craig Kelly. A steel fabricator could have manufactured all 40 of these bins for $325,000 in total. A total waste of $13 million makes no sense whatsoever. I tried to find out whom the contract was awarded, but of course, no luck. The money went somewhere, but where? We probably need to have a review into this contract awarding and ask an independent team to investigate. This is taxpayer money, after all. So that's what we're dealing with here in Victoria. Now, as somebody who actually ran a contract for the Victorian government for well over a decade, I know exactly how the contract process is supposed to work, and I personally have very, very serious doubts that there was ever actually a proper tender process in place for those bins, as of course there is supposed to be. Now, there are posts going around on social media that suggest that the contract was awarded to billionaire Richard Pratt of VIC, and I've actually seen some people on social media who are so frustrated at this absolute blatant waste of money that they're sending out emails, letters, even FOI requests to the Victorian Parliament to try and get to the bottom of who actually awarded this contract, on what basis it was awarded, and ultimately try and hold that person, or indeed those people, to account. So please, if you or anyone you know is pursuing that particular trail, do by all means get in touch with us, and please keep us updated on your progress so that we can report back to anyone on any findings you may come across. So the next question, of course, is what are the Victorian government doing to try and pay for all these blatant wastes of taxpayer money? Well, no surprises, they're coming up with new ways to fine people, of course, as we've spoken about many times on these videos before. But this latest one really is pretty impressive. Now, I say impressive because it's impressive that they actually thought that anybody would get on board with it. So, what are they doing? Are you ready? I hope you're sitting down. They are trying to fine people for walking on the wrong side of the road. Yes, people, you heard that correctly. You cannot make this insanity up. So here is the story. And if you want an absolute good belly laugh, have a read. Either that or you just shake your head in disbelief. So it's entitled KAIRNS Syndrome. Which I think once you see the article is even an offence to any of the KAIRNS out there. Melbourne Lord Mayor suggests fines for walking on wrong side of footpath in huge case of nanny state overreach. Fresh off banning e-scooters, Melbourne's Lord Mayor is now floating a crackdown on pedestrians walking on the wrong side of the footpath, prompting claims he has an acute case of KAIRNS syndrome. Lord Mayor Nick Rees took to the pages of The Age on Friday to complain about the state of pedestrian etiquette on Melbourne streets. In a piece spanning almost 800 words, Mr. Rees complained about people walking too fast, people walking too slow, and people drifting diagonally like bishops on a chessboard. Melbourne's Lord Mayor suggested fines could be used against people who failed to walk on the left of the footpath, while people who use their phones while crossing the road could have them confiscated. Sorry, when did we make the Lord Mayor in charge of everybody and everything that goes on in the city? I'm not quite sure that's what the position's all about. Ah, yes, and then there's these ridiculous, wild and baseless claims. Foot traffic numbers are soaring in the city again, and the new metro stations are about to deliver 500,000 more people every week. It's time we took action. Well, anyone who's been to the city of Melbourne recently will know that it is dead compared to what it was like pre-COVID. Yeah, there's a few people running around here and there, but it's nothing like what it used to be in the good old days. So I don't know where he pulls that data out from. And given the chaos on our footpaths, I can't remember the last time I heard of a 10-person pile-up on the footpath, but apparently there's chaos. Perhaps it's time for less carrot and more stick, less suggestion and more compulsion in the form of a new keep left law. I mean, if you didn't know better, you'd think this was an April Fool's article, wouldn't you? Mayor Rees also took aim at the generation of zombies, always staring at their mobile phones or taking selfies, suggesting Melbourne should follow Honolulu in fining people who use their mobiles while crossing the street. What if they're following the directions on their phone, mate, trying to work out where to go? Melbourne can be a bit complicated like that. Victoria has a road rule that bans phone use while driving. What about the same for pedestrians crossing the road? Because the worst they're going to do, mate, is bump into someone, not potentially kill someone. That'd be the difference. Perhaps we could seize offenders' phones for a day. That, for many, that would be harsher than a fine, he said. I mean, this is just nuts. The suggestion was condemned by Brian Marlow from grassroots activist group Citizen Go, who said the Lord Mayor must be suffering from an acute case of KAIRNS syndrome. Only someone fully embedded in the taxpayer-funded Karen industrial complex could look at Melbourne's foot traffic and decide that what we really need is more laws telling grown adults where to walk, he said. This is Australia. We believe in freedom to walk where we please, not to shuffle along in government-approved single-file lines like school kids on excursion. We don't take kindly to being scolded by Big Brother in a high-vis vest, especially not from a bloke who clearly fancies himself as the self-appointed hall monitor of the CBD. Maybe next he'll issue citations for failing to smile politely at a tram driver. Mr. Marlow said the proposal to regulate how people walk on the footpath perfectly encapsulated nanny state overreach. Rees's fetish for micromanaging public space isn't leadership, he said. It's authoritarianism masquerading as civic virtue. And let's be clear, it's not about safety, it's about control. Like everything else they do. It's the same mindset that put health bureaucrats in charge of your freedoms during COVID. And don't we all remember that all too well? So there you have it, literally the most insane idea that we have heard from the government yet. And look, that is saying a lot because there has been quite a few, let me tell you. But as always, it is up to you guys to write to your local members of parliament and express your will, clearly and calmly, of course, but let them know what you think about this absolutely absurd proposal. Now, speaking of Labor's proposal, there was yet another insane one this week where Jacinta Allen actually berated reporters for questioning her support of a program, get this, to start teaching kids as young as just 5 years of age all of their disgusting pedophilic gender ideologies. Now, this should really, get you fired up and, get you taking action. And I certainly hope that people watching this video do exactly that. So this is the article if you want to look it up. Victorian Premier attacks journalists after revelations 5-year-old children being taught fringe theories about sex and gender. Victorian Premier Jacinta Allan has launched a disturbing attack on free and open reporting in a heated defence of a radical push of transgender ideology to 5-year-olds. Victoria's Department of Education quietly updated the program in August 2023, expanding it to include content that teaches children in their first year of primary school that their biological sex may not align with their transgender identity, according to The Australian. The new materials include a case study involving a transgender girl named Stacey, who was told she should be on the boys' sports team, prompting a suggested classroom response from teachers that affirms her right to play with girls as she is a girl. Children are also taught that some people do not want to be called a boy or a girl and that their physical body parts might not match how they feel inside. Well, guess what? My body parts don't feel like I feel inside either. I still think I'm a 20-year-old sometimes. I try and do things that a 20-year-old does. It doesn't work so well. But it doesn't magically make me identify as a 20-year-old. I'm still the age that I am. And I have to deal with it, and so does everybody else. In the rant in the press conference, she went beyond backing the curriculum as she launched a full-throttle attack against The Australian's Rachel Baxendale's reporting. It's disgraceful nonsense. This sort of ongoing attack on a program that is making a difference in kids' lives just should be stopped. No, what should be just stopped, Jacinta Allan, is this ridiculous, disgusting program. It's disgraceful reporting. It's hurtful. No, the program is disgraceful and the program is hurtful. That's what we need to get back to. It raises significant concerns about the freedom of open media in the state of Victoria. The Premier's attack on the Australian was labelled very concerning, with Director of the Foundations of Western Civilisation program at the Institute of Public Affairs, Bella Debrera, lamenting the government's support of the program. Parents should be very concerned, absolutely, that the Victorian government both supports and funds the indoctrination of children with fringe theories about sex and gender years before it is appropriate. Attacking reporting on what actually is going on in schools should be concerning to every Victorian, she said. Jacinta Allan will say or do anything to avoid having to be honest and upfront about the radical theories being pushed on Victorian children at school. That the Premier is again trying to deflect attention away from these radical and age-inappropriate campaigns tells parents all they need to know. The Premier's performance today reinforced her warped view that the government has the right to decide what children are taught regarding relationships and not parents. Unfortunately today, from childcare to secondary school, there is not a level of our education system that has not been hijacked by activists to push their radical social agenda on children. And that is something that everybody should be very concerned about. So please, any of you out there who are watching this who are parents, I urge you all, please sit down and speak to your children. Teach them how to stand up for themselves if or when their particular schools try and teach them any of this rubbish. Because as we can clearly see, okay, the government is not going to stop pushing this insanity until we, the people, force them to stop. So again, people need to take action. And unfortunately, it's not just the school kids that the government is putting in danger. Of course, it is absolutely everyone. Now, the next article I'm going to go through is a couple of months old, but the effects of it are actually just starting to really hit home now. So again, I urge you to have a look at this article as well, entitled "A Danger on Our Streets." Allan government accused of putting Victorians at risk with massive cut budgets for courts and police. The Allan government has been accused of putting Victorians at risk after it cut funding to police and the courts in the middle of a crime crisis. The state government's latest budget, handed down on Tuesday, included a $50 million cut to Victoria Police's 25-26 budget, a $30 million cut to Victoria's courts, and a $169 million reduction in court-related capital expenditure. That makes a total of nearly $200 million cut from the court system. We'll come back to that in a moment. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, Shadow Attorney General Michael O'Brien said it didn't make any sense to cut funding to police and the courts while Victoria is grappling with a crime crisis. When you cut cops and cut courts, you increase danger and you cut community safety. That is exactly what Labor has done in this budget. By the government cutting Court Services Victoria by $30 million, it means more backlogs in the courts. It means more violent offenders getting bail, and it means more danger on our streets for every single Victorian. This is a government whose budget says it's focused on what matters most, while clearly this government isn't focused on community safety. Funding for the courts to deliver fair, timely and efficient dispensing of justice has been reduced from $864 million to $834 million, while Court Services Victoria's capital expenditure has been cut from $318 million to $149 million, a reduction of 53%. That's over half. Okay, I mean, these are staggering figures. And again, let's get back to what we were talking about before. Here we've got Jacinta Allen sitting above all this, cutting all this funding to cops and courts, but manages to find $13 million to build what should at most cost, $300,000 worth of machete bins. Once again, we see that things just don't add up. Now, there is one small glimmer of hope that I do urge you all to consider. Now, as we all know, all the courts are all completely backlogged already. But with these further funding cuts, that means that they are going to be under the pump even more than they were before. So this is our moment to strike, and to strike hard. If we can get even just a 5 or 10% increase in the number of people who take their matters into court, whether that be parking fines, speeding fines, debt collectors pursuing old debts, anything like that, then we can absolutely crush the court system and bring it to its knees. Now, it's not like the courts are doing anything with the real criminals anyway, so it's really not going to actually affect that side of things. But if we can fill the courts with these trivial traffic matters and the like, then they're going to only have one of two options. They're either going to have to withdraw these matters when people actually challenge them, or they're going to have to shut down the entire system because they simply will not be able to cope. Now, this is something that we've stated in every single one of our live events over the last 10, 11 years, but now it's really coming to a head with these huge funding cuts. So this is where real people power can have a massive impact. So please, if you don't already have it, I urge you, grab a copy of that Aussie Speeding Fines book to learn exactly how simple it is to successfully challenge a fine in court, or potentially even have it withdrawn before it goes to court if you properly follow that tried, tested and proven 3-step process from chapter 3 of that book. So as always, you'll find a link in the description. It'll also be up in the comments if you're watching this on Facebook. But do grab your copy, and please, I urge all of you, yourselves, and please pass this on and urge family members, friends, co-workers, anything. Let's fill the courts up. Let's challenge every fine. Let's challenge every claim that's being made against us, and let's fill these courts up and bring them to their knees. Now, while we're on the subject of taking things to court, I've had a bunch of people send me through the latest ABC hatchet job, this 45-minute so-called investigation entitled LawFare, which of course was their story on these so-called sovereign citizens and how anyone who dares to challenge the system must be a violent danger to society, and all the rest of the rubbish that Muppet David Heelpern that they wheel out every 6 months or so that he can spout all this crap goes on about. Now, I've addressed these types of stories many times on these videos, so I thought that this time I'd do something a little bit different, and that is share another person's point of view on that story. Now, this is actually from the very well known and respected CAIRNS news publication, which has been operating in the truth and freedom space for quite a while now. And this is what they had to say about that ABC story. So it's quite a long article, but I've just covered the first page because there's a couple of key points there that I want everyone to be aware of. So it is entitled ABC Freaks Out Over Growth of Sovereign Citizen Movements. The ABC's recent online and TV coverage of the growth of so-called sovereign citizens groups has again shown the organisation to be at their political core just a government propaganda outlet. Back in June, when the newly elected Tasmanian Independent MP Craig Garland spoke at a Unity and Community meeting Ulverstone, a local award-winning ABC reporter Adam Holmes launched a paranoid hit piece against him. Holmes did his best to imply that it was somehow scandalous that a state MP attended and spoke at a political meeting attended by, shock and horror, sovereign citizens. The meeting had been arranged by prominent Launceston community activist and former councillor Shane Cush Ellison, and also featured as a speaker Darren Bergworth from the Frankston My Place group in Victoria. This event also featured on ABC's Four Corners documentary, LawFare. Ironically, the word lawfare refers to legal action taken by some rich and powerful entity with the object of harassing and bankrupting its target. It does not apply to community level legal action. So the ABC are telling you with their story, with their title, exactly what they're trying to do. LawFare, which ran during the week, featured various law activists across Australia, including the Sovereign People's Assembly of Western Australia. The reporter Mahmoud Khazal seemed to have a listening ear, but in the wash-up it was legal establishment 1, the people 0. Unsurprisingly, these mainstream legal practitioners and academics were unanimous in their condemnation of the various arguments raised in courts by so-called sovereign citizens or freemen. The simple reason is that these arguments usually do not align with legal practice and or court procedure. Whether or not a straw man or commerce arguments align with existing law is debatable, but telling a court that you as a living, breathing man on the land are not operating in commerce and are therefore not subject to the state's legislation is simply outside of the scope of the legal system as we know it. Such arguments in Australia, UK and US courts are now routinely dismissed. A more practical approach is to work within existing law as done by groups like Aussie Speeding Fines and KYRG.com.au. We're also aware of people who use the private commercial notice system promoted by various gurus, although are yet to see hard evidence of a government body directly responding to them. Some of the greatest legal battles by freedom-loving Aussies have been fought in the courts using existing law, which is what we try and teach people to do. Darryl O'Brien, of course, who's part of the Know Your Rights group, founder of the Melbourne Group Community Law Resource Group, has much to say on that, as do former Senators Rod Cullerton and Len Harris. Okay, so here they're telling you what to do, people. Don't try these fanciful arguments. Use the law to your advantage. You can operate within the law and within the courts and still win. 100% it can be done, and that's what we teach people to do. Now, that article does go on for quite a few pages, and I definitely do urge you to read the whole thing, but I did just want to focus on those important points raised towards the end. Now, yes, absolutely, we do have some very advanced members who are able to successfully raise some of those straw man type arguments in the courts, but anyone who's followed us recently, been to some of our recent live events, will know that we now have enough information, evidence, and actual court precedent that back up the arguments that we teach to show people, as I said, how to operate within the current system and win. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we're not still trying to bring about the necessary changes that still definitely need to be made. But the point is that you don't need to, as I said, go off on these super advanced arguments. There are many very simple, very straightforward, incredibly powerful arguments that the courts have either ruled on in our favour or they can't rule on because they know the ramifications of ruling against us, that we're now able to use to hold them to account and have been doing so for many years now. Darren and Darryl have obviously been helping Senator Cullerton for many years. We've taken everything that we've learnt during that process, as well as the process of helping many, many other people around the country along the way, and we're now teaching everyday people just like you watching this, through our radio shows, which, by the way, have now been going for over 11 years now. That makes us the longest running group in this freedom and truth space, which is just simply not possible if the information and strategies that we teach didn't work. We also, of course, do it through these weekly live video updates and, of course, through our various live events. Now, speaking of our live events, please do keep in mind that our upcoming court process, paperwork and procedure webinar is on in just 1 week's time. So it's not this weekend, it's next weekend, the 31st. So now, remember, this is a vitally important webinar where we're going to be covering the distinction and the difference between things like, contest mention, contest hearing, what you actually do on your first court appearance, how to address the court, difference between civil and criminal jurisdiction, how to challenge the jurisdiction of the court if they start misbehaving, and of course everything that you need to know about creating a strong paper trail, that stat decks, affidavits, outlines of submissions, all of that. We're also going to be teaching people how to file a conditional appearance if you want to maybe go down that path. And again, of course, we're going to give you all the legislation and all the court precedent that back up that legal argument so that you don't get railroaded in court. Now, that event is now over 80% sold out. Unfortunately, all the VIP tickets are all gone, as I said they would be on the last video. So please don't be one of the ones that miss out on this really important webinar. Jump onto our webinar page. There should be a link in the description or at least in the comment section. And please do secure your spot before that sells out. Now, also on the subject of that webinar, I've had even more people contact me after last week's show concerned about these various rallies that are being held around the country on that same day, on the Sunday, the 31st. They keep sending me these things, and yes, I'm well aware of them. And again, I did address that on the last video update. We also addressed it in detail on last Tuesday night's radio show. And I do urge anyone, if you missed that radio show, do go and listen to it, because there are much, much simpler ways to beat immigration than taking to the street in these rallies. Now, just to give you a little bit more information so that you can make a fully informed decision for yourselves, I want to quickly just share one mainstream media article with you, followed by some thoughts from Topher Field, who of course is another very well-known and well-respected identity within this truth and freedom space. So first, of course, is the warning from the mainstream media. And this is the article that came out recently. And it says, blunt warning issued to demonstrators planning to take part in anti-immigration rallies, no place in Australia. Supporters of an anti-immigration rally are being warned not to attend the massive protest, with politicians branding the movement as having no place in Australia. March for Australia is organising the protest that will take place on August 31st in several capital cities, including Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Perth and Adelaide. The organisers, who describe themselves as grassroots coalition of nationalists, patriots and everyday Australians, have the aim of gathering like-minded people to demand an end to mass immigration. For years, Australians' unity and shared values have been eroded by policies and movements that divide us, the March for Australia website states. Our streets have seen growing displays of anti-Australian hatred, foreign conflicts and disintegrating trust, while mass migration has torn at the bonds that held our communities together. Much of the March for Australia website touts anti-migrant rhetoric, which has drawn the support of people with far-right political views who are promoting the rally on social media. Blah, 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 usual stuff. Australia is changing in ways most of us never agreed to. People are waking up to a country they barely recognise. Endless migration, weak leadership and political cowardice have brought us here, and it's time to put a stop to it. Now that's the key. It's the weak leadership and the political cowardice. That's what they want to stop. Okay? The mass immigration, that's what they're not saying no immigration. They're saying we've got to control it. Minister for Multicultural Affairs Anne Alley claimed the protest had no place in modern Australia. Dr. Alley, who was born in Egypt and migrated to Australia when she was 2 years old, warned the rally would not intimidate the multicultural communities in the country. They're not meant to. It's got nothing to do with the multicultural communities. It's there to send a message to the politicians that need to amend the immigration policies. But of course, this is how the media likes to twist and turn things. This brand of far-right activism grounded in racism and ethnocentrism has no place in modern Australia. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke branded the protest as un-Australian, saying it would only undermine the country's unity. Oh, that sounds a bit familiar like the voice to Parliament, that they wanted to divide and separate people from, Aussies and the Aboriginals. So, it was all right to divide Australia then, but now they all of a sudden want to unite Australia. Funny that. There is no place in our country for people who seek to divide and undermine our social cohesion. Really? So, Mr. Burke, what have you got to say about the voice to Parliament referendum? So that's what the mainstream media are saying about that. And of course, it's no surprise that they do like to twist and turn things around into something that they are not. And that really is my key concern for people who are considering attending those rallies, that this could very easily be turned through the use of crisis actors, things like that, to infiltrate these rallies and turn them into something that they were never ever designed to be. So my suggestion to you is please be very careful, okay? Possibly maybe sit this one out, see how it all plays out. If it all goes to plan, then, quite obviously there's going to be others, and those would be the ones to join. Now, as I mentioned just before, Topher Field, who again I'm sure many of you have heard of, also has fairly similar thought process. And what I'm about to read out comes just directly from one of his recent videos that he did where he spoke about these planned rallies. So it says, according to Joel Jamal, a young guy on TikTok was feeling frustrated, thought we should do something, picked a date, but had no idea how to organise, etc. So he backed away when people started responding. Topher then explains that someone who he knows picked it up and has been promoting it via misinformation and misrepresentation. Many are concerned that people who are late to the freedom movement and not savvy about the pitfalls will go to the march with good intentions, not realising it could be a staged event to cause chaos, and thus justified in penalising the freedom movement, especially since there is a legitimate protest organised for mid-September anyway. Okay, so again, this is just my suggestion. Take it, leave it, whatever you like. But given that there are legitimate rallies coming up in September, I would urge you all to wait for those, because this is, again, entirely up to you. We've got only 20 seats left to our webinar. So I'm not telling you all of this, to try and get you to book in for the webinar. It's not for that reason. I'm saying it because I have genuine concerns, okay, about how this could end up playing out. But look, as always, I will leave it up to you guys to make the best decision for you and your families. Now, of course, having said that, if you do, you are minded to attend the rally, or for whatever other reason you can't attend our webinar, then at the very least, I do urge you to please make sure you grab a copy of our new affidavit and submission CDs. Okay, this has a full 1 hour video presentation. You can actually watch it, and then it actually has the affidavits, the stat decks, the outlines of submissions, pages and pages and pages of them that you can actually use and just cut and paste your details in and use them for any court case that you might have coming up. So you'll find a link in the comment section for that, or you'll find this on our shop page. And of course, don't forget, we do have the triple pack as well, which includes that affidavit and submissions disc, and it also includes the Constitution Commission reports, which of course are those reports that the government was supposed to implement to make the changes to the Commonwealth Constitution to make all the laws valid, which of course they never ever implemented. Again, really, really powerful documents that you can add in with your affidavits and submissions. And of course the Freedom of Information CD, which has some really, really powerful FOI responses from government departments that again are evidence that you can put into an affidavit or submission and turn around and use against them. All right, so just to finish off on a completely different topic, the final article that I want to share with everyone details the latest cyber attack that once again happened just this week. So if you missed the news, it all relates to iiNet, and as it says there, iiNet cyber attack exposes details of 280,000 customers. Hundreds of thousands of iiNet customers have potentially had their details stolen after the internet provider was hit by a cyber attack. The TPG-owned broadband company confirmed today that an unknown third party had access to its order management system on August 16, which, which is used to create and track orders for iiNet customers. An internal investigation found historic data from around 280,000 iiNet customers were exposed in the breach, including active and inactive email addresses and landline phone numbers. Another 10,000 customer user names, street addresses and phone numbers were also accessed, along with 1,700 modem setup passwords. iiNet said no credit cards, banking or financial information have been compromised. It also confirmed no driver's license details, ID or bank details were accessed by the hackers. The hackers gained access through a staffer's stolen account credentials. We unreservedly apologise to the iiNet customers impacted by the incident. We're continuing our investigation to ensure we understand all details surrounding this. We'll begin contacting customers to make them aware of the incident, apologise and provide details of support available. Customers have been warned to be alert over any suspicious or unusual communications claiming to be from iiNet. So, it seems like we hear about one of these cyber attacks, data breaches, something along those lines, every week or two now. And this, of course, reiterates why you should be very, very careful about how much personal, private data you hand over to entities and why you should absolutely never hand that over to the government. I mean, if this can happen in private corporations, what on earth do you think is going to happen if they get this digital ID across the line and that sort of data gets hacked? Okay, we want to ensure that that never, ever, ever happens. All right, so finally, as I always do, I'm going to finish off with the latest testimonials. Latest memes to get people thinking about what's going on at the moment. Now, we spoke on the last radio show that we did about all of the issues in the UK and what's happening there. And as the cartoon says, what's it like living in the UK? He says, well, I can't complain. She goes, oh, that's good. He goes, no, I mean, I can't complain. I might go to jail. And that's what it's like over there. And believe me, it won't be long before a similar system comes in over here. Now, this was an interesting one that was sent through to me. So you've got Trump, Netanyahu, and good old Elbow down the bottom. So Trump protecting his people, making his country safe, taking out the trash. Netanyahu protecting his people, making his country safe, taking out the trash. Good old Elbow making his country unsafe, ignoring the will of the people, and bringing in all of the trash. So there you have it. There's the problem. We need to get rid of Elbow. Now, that ABC article that I talked about is just one of many that the mainstream media put out there every single day. And this is really what it's all about. As it says, good evening, here's what we want. Here's what we want you all to believe today, because that's really all these news programs and the like are all about. Now, obviously, we're talking about sovereign citizens, and the other one that they like to toss around is conspiracy theorists. So here is a good definition, as it says. A conspiracy theorist is just someone who fact-checks professional liars. And I think that's very apt. And then the last one, because we don't ever want to forget about the COVID, and I'm going to keep reminding people about what happened during COVID, every week or so when the next thing rolls on by, people have it fresh in their minds. But as it says here, and this is a key distinction, the unvaccinated aren't dangerous because they spread the disease. They're considered dangerous because they spread critical thinking and resistance, the two things the government fears the most. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and as always, I do urge you to make use of all of the information that is available to you, to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. We really do need that this year more than ever before. So as always, these videos are completely free to watch. You'll find them on the videos tab on our Facebook page, on our BitChute channel, on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for those so you get notified when any new videos get uploaded. Pardon me. There's also plenty of completely free information, of course, on our websites. Our radio shows, again, completely free to listen to every Tuesday night between 8 and 10. Every second week, we have a live show. So, again, this Tuesday coming, we'll be back live on air. So just click on the radio show tab that you'll find in the description. Just click on the big black Listen Live button. You can listen to that from wherever you are, off a computer, phone, tablet, whatever you like. They're 2-hour shows. So we can go into a lot more detail than we can on these videos. They're completely completely uncensored, so we can talk about topics that we can't talk about on these videos. So do be sure to listen to those. And if you have missed any of the 400 and I think we're up to 19 shows that we've done over the last 11 years, do remember you can join up as a podcast member for less than $5 a week and get access to all of our past podcasts, all of our notes for each show, transcripts of every show. Everything is there and available for you. Now, of course, if you want to go above and beyond that, we do recommend our ebook, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. It will open up your eyes to what's really going on in the world at the moment and what you can do to change it. Of course, that Aussie Speeding Fines book, as I've mentioned many times before, these guys have been around for 18 years now, helping people challenge all manner of unjust and unlawful fines. So do be sure to grab that. And of course, we know a lot of people are genuinely struggling financially, so stop throwing good money after bad at these unsecured loans. That's your credit cards, your personal loans. They can be discharged, written off with just a couple of letters. So these can all be purchased individually. There's links in the description. You can, of course, get them as part of the combo pack. We do include that tote bag pardon me, as a bonus, no extra charge. Don't forget, our webinar is coming up not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. If you can't make that for any reason, please do make sure you grab a copy of our home study course. It's a complete recording of one of our 2.5-day live events where we cover very similar information. There's 17 DVDs that you can go through at your own pace, fast forward, rewind in the comfort of your own home. 3 custom-made workbooks. You can take notes next to every single slide from every single presentation, and it is a brilliant resource that you'll come back to again and again and again over the years. So I'm going to leave things there. We will speak to you all live on a Tuesday night for the next radio show. Of course, live next Thursday for our next live video update. Until then, have a great weekend, everyone, and take care.